Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today in this video lecture, I am going to discuss Edmund Spenser's poetry called the Prothalomeon. So first of all, I am beginning with an introduction. The Prothalomeon, written in the year 1596, and it is a celebratory poem composed to honor the twin weddings of Elizabeth and Catherine Somerset. And this sort of lyrical piece blends pastoral and allegorical elements by taking inspiration from classical mythology and also taking elements from rich natural imagery. So in this poetry we see there is reflection of love, beauty and sanctity of marriage, and using the Thames River as a symbolic backdrop. And this poem structure means the poem structure and musicality mirror the joyous occasion, creating a vivid tableau of floral abundance and the purity associated with the brides. So, this poem, The Prothalomeon, stands as a testament to Spenser's mastery of language and his appreciation for the union of nature and humanity. Here I am beginning with actual lines of the poetry. Calm was the day and through the trembling air. The poem opens with a serene setting, suggesting tranquility and the peacefulness of the day. Calm here suggests or introduces a sense of stillness and sets the mood. Sweet breathing Zephyrus did softly play. Zephyrus means gentle west wind in Greek mythology, associated with the arrival of spring. His sweet breathing adds to the idyllic atmosphere, means a refreshing and pleasant environment, a gentle spirit that lightly did delay. So this line personifies the wind as a gentle spirit. This word here, delay. So this word suggests that it takes its time, adding to the soothing essence of the scene. Hot Titan's beams which then did glister fair. So Titan refers to the sun here, and this phrase means that the sun's heat is diminished by the coolness of the breeze, creating a comfortable balance between warmth and coolness. When I whose sullen care, the speaker introduces himself, revealing a sense of melancholy and disillusionment. This personal tone shifts the focus from nature to the speaker's emotional state. Through discontent of my long fruitless stay. So the phrase conveys the speaker's dissatisfaction stemming from a prolonged period of unfulfillment, particularly in a lofty court setting where expectations may have been unrealistically high. In a prince's court, and expectation vain. So the prince court signifies a space of social hierarchy and ambition. The mention of expectation vain reiterates the futility of the speaker's hopes in that environment, of idle hopes which still do fly away. So here we see that there in this line we see there is a kind of futile aspiration. Idle hopes imply that these dreams or ambitions lack substance and fly away, suggests a swift and fleeting nature of these dreams, like empty shadows did afflict my brain. So these hopes are like empty shadows, indicating emptiness and the inability to grasp what once seemed tangible. So this affliction causes mental distress for the speaker, walked forth to ease my pain. So in response to his emotional turmoil, the speaker decides to take a walk. This suggests a desire for solace in nature as an antidote to his distress. Along the shore of silver streaming Thames. So the speaker strolls along the Thames River, described as silver streaming, conjuring imagery of shimmering water that enhances the peaceful scene, whose rooty bank the which his river hems. So this word rooty bank refers to the river's bank's uneven natural state, which is a tangible aspect of the landscape. Encapsulating the river within its banks was painted all with variable flowers. So the bank is adorned with diverse and colorful flowers, emphasizing nature's beauty and suggesting a celebration of life and renewal. And all the meads adorned with dainty gems. So the meads or meadows filled with dainty gems refers to flowers or few drops illustrating the lush, vibrant landscape, fit to deck maidens' bowers. So, this imagery of decking maidens' bowers implies romance and beauty, hinting at the celebration of love, specifically weddings, and crown their paramours. Paramours indicates lovers. So, the act of crowning suggests honor and reverence, underlining themes of love and courtship, which is central to the poem. Now, against the bridal day, which is not long. So, this is a kind of indication of approaching of a wedding day, embodying themes of joy and expectation. It gives a sense of imminent celebration. Sweet themes run softly till I end my song. So, concluding this segment with a direct address to the themes, the speaker requests the river to flow gently, symbolizing the desire for tranquility as he reflects on love and his poetic musings. Here we begin with another stanza. There in a meadow by the river's side. So introduces the setting, evoking a serene natural environment that symbolizes fertility and new beginnings. The river represents life and flow. A flock of nymphs I chance to espy. So the speaker spots a group of nymphs, mythological figures associated with nature, indicating beauty and grace. This also sets a whimsical, enchanted tone. All lovely daughters of the flood thereby. So the nymphs are described as daughters of the river, emphasizing their connection to nature. Flood suggests abundance and the nurturing aspect of water with goodly greenish locks all loose untied. So their hair is described as greenish, blending with the natural imagery. Loose hair suggests freedom and vitality, aligning with their playful character. So as each had been a bride, so implies an air of celebration and youthful femininity. The mention of brides invokes themes of love and marriage, which is central to the poem. And each one had a little wicker basket. So the basket symbolizes gathering and nurturing, highlighting the nymphs as caretakers of nature. This foreshadows the collection of flowers for the bridal day, made of fine twigs and trailed curiosity. So the craftsmanship of the baskets shows the delicate nature of nymphs, suggesting they are both practical and artistic, in which they gathered flowers to fill their flasket. So, the act of gathering flowers symbolizes preparation and anticipation for the bridal festivities, reinforcing the poem's celebratory sort of mood. And with fine fingers cropped full fetusly. So, fine fingers suggest delicacy and grace. This word, fetusly, means meticulous work, enhancing the image of the nymphs, careful selection of nature's bounty. The tender stalks on high highlights the fragility and beauty of the flowers, further emphasizing themes of femininity and love inherent in the scene of every sort which in that meadow grew. So indicates diversity in the flower selection, symbolizing various aspects of love and relationships, suggesting a richness in what love can encompass. Then we see that they gathered some the violet palette blue. So specific flowers are highlighted. The violet represent modesty, adding depth to the symbolic meaning of the flowers gathered. The little daisy that at evening closes. So the daisy symbolizes innocence and purity, and its evening closing reflects the passage of time and the cyclical nature of life and love. The virgin lily and the primrose true. So the virgin lily conveys purity and virtue, while the primrose symbolizes youth and early love and exploration of different facets of love's beauty, with store of vermeil roses. So roses representing love and passion add vibrant color and energy to the bridal bouquet, showing the poem's theme of romantic love to deck their bridegroom's posies. So the flowers are not just for decoration but specifically for their grooms, linking love and adorned beauty with the act of marriage. Against the bridal day, which was not long, so portrays anticipation for the wedding day, emphasizing the fleeting nature of time. The use of not long evokes urgency and excitement. Sweet themes run against the bridal day, which was not long. Here we see that not long evokes urgency and excitement for upcoming marriage. Then we see sweet themes run softly till I end my song. So a direct appeal to the river, personifying it as gentle and serene. It reflects the speaker's wish for tranquility and beauty to accompany the celebration and highlights the role of nature in love narratives. Now here we see, with that I saw two swans of goodly hue. So the speaker observes two beautiful swans swimming gracefully. The phrase goodly hue emphasizes their striking appearance, setting a tone of admiration. Come softly swimming down along the lea. So the swans glide gently down the river. The word softly suggests tranquility and peacefulness, contributing to an idealized natural setting. Two fairer birds I yet did never see. So the speaker asserts that he has never seen more beautiful birds, establishing the swans as symbols of purity and beauty. The snow which dot the top of Pindus true. So Pindus is a mountain range. Here snow symbolizes purity and whiteness. The comparison elevates the swan's beauty to a divine level. Did never whiter hue. So the speaker continues to emphasize the swan's whiteness, which is unmatched even by the snow on Pindus. Now here we see, nor Jove himself when he a swan would be. So this line references Jupiter, Jove, transforming into a swan. The speaker likens the swans to divine beings, accentuating their grace. For love of Leda, whiter did appear. Leda's myth connects to themes of beauty and transformation. The swans are even whiter than the mythical swan, underscoring their extraordinary beauty. Yet Leda was, they say, as white as he. So the speaker acknowledges Leda's beauty, reinforcing the theme of comparison between human and divine beauty. Yet not so white as these, nor nothing near. So even Leda cannot compare to the purity of the swan, suggesting an unattainable ideal. So purely white they were. So again the swans' whiteness is emphasized, reinforcing the central imagery of purity that even the gentle stream, the which them bear. So the river is personified as gentle, enhancing the serene atmosphere of the scene. Seemed foul to them and bade his billows spare. So the stream feels unworthy of the swans, showing their transcendence and the concept that beauty elevates beyond its surroundings to wet their silken feathers lest they might. So the river desires to avoid tarnishing the swans' delicate feathers, reinforcing their purity. Soil their fair plumes with water not so fair. Water is metaphorically described as not so fair, depicting a stark contrast between the swan's immaculate beauty and the ordinary world, and mar their beauties bright. So we see that the idea that the swan's beauty is pristine and should be preserved, which adds a layer of vulnerability that's shown as heaven's light. So the swan's beauty is likened to divine light, suggesting they possess celestial qualities against their bridal day, which was not long. So the swans are tied to a forthcoming wedding, symbolizing love and union. The temporal aspect emphasizes the fleeting nature of beauty. Sweet themes run softly till I end my song. So the speaker addresses the river Thames, pleading for its gentle flow to match the serene beauty of the scene. The request contributes to a sense of harmony and peace as the poem culminates, suggesting the importance of this movement. Eftsoons, the nymphs which now had flowers their fill. So the term eftsoons means soon after. The mention of nymphs evokes nature and mythology, particularly water spirits. Here they have enjoyed the abundance of flowers, symbolizing beauty and fertility. Ran all in haste to see that silver brood. So the nymphs hurry to witness a miraculous sight referred to as silver brood, hinting at the appearance of swans or divine beings representing purity and grace as they came floating on the crystal flood. So the imagery of floating on the crystal flood suggests tranquility and beauty, emphasizing the serene, reflective qualities of water and the elegance of whatever is approaching, whom when they saw they stood amazed still. So the nymphs are struck with astonishment at the sight, a powerful response that indicates the extraordinary nature of what they are witnessing. Their wondering eyes to fill So their wide eyes wonder suggests that the sight has overwhelmed them with beauty, leaving them almost speechless. Them seem they never saw a sight so fair. So the nymphs agree among themselves that they have never seen anything as beautiful as the sight before them, underscoring the exceptional nature of the event. Of fowls so lovely they sure did deem. So the reference to fowls implies that the beings they see resemble birds, likely swans, and the use of lovely emphasize beauty. Them heavenly born ought to be that same pair. So the nymphs speculate that these creatures might be divine or celestial in nature, suggesting a connection between the earthly and the heavenly, with which through the sky draw Venus' silver team. So here we see Venus, the goddess of love, who rides in a chariot drawn by doves or swans. It reinforces themes of love and beauty. For sure, they did not seem. So the nymphs are certain that the beings are not of this world. There's a strong belief in their divine origins, to be begot of any earthly seed. So this line reaffirms the idea that these creatures do not have ordinary origins, enhancing their ethereal quality, but rather angels or of angels' breed. So the comparison to angels further suggests holiness and purity, elevating the beings to a celestial status. Yet were they bred of summer's heat, they say. So the reference to summer's heat indicates that they originated in summer, a season symbolizing life and vibrancy, hinting at their seasonal natural birth in sweetest season when each flower and weed. So here we see imagery of spring or summer representing abundance and beauty in nature, suggesting that their birth is tied to perfect conditions. The earth did fresh array. So nature is depicted as adorned and refreshed, indicating renewal and the thriving life that accompanies the season. So fresh they seemed as day. So the freshness of the beings is likened to the brightness of day, reinforcing their beauty and newness, even as their bridal day, which was not long. So the comparison ties the beauty to the joy and hope of weddings, indicating the religious and ceremonial significance of the day, which is imminent. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. So the speaker addresses the river Thames, asking it to flow gently, perhaps as a request for the tranquil and beautiful atmosphere to continue as the poet concludes the celebration of love. Now here we see, then forth they all out of their baskets drew. So the poem opens with the image of maidens, likely nymphs, who emerge and take flowers from their baskets. This suggests preparation for a celebratory event. Great store of flowers, the honor of the field. So the great store of flowers symbolizes abundance and beauty, representing nature's glory and vibrancy, complementing theme of celebration here. So that to the sense did fragrant odors yield. So the flowers are described as fragrant, appealing to the senses. This sensory imagery enhances the joyous atmosphere, all which upon those goodly birds they threw. So the goodly birds symbolize the brides or possibly the gods. Throwing flowers suggests an act of adornment or blessing, tying nature into the celebration. And all the waves did strew. So the act of strewing flowers over the water aligns with the theme of festivity and suggesting a river, symbolizing a marriage of nature and humanity, that like old Panios waters they did seem. So Panios river is in Thessaly, famous in mythology. Comparing the Thames to it evokes classical references, hinting at eternal beauty and harmony. Went down along by pleasant Thames shore. So Thames beauty is emphasized. It is a mythical valley known for its lingering charm, emphasizing themes of idyllic happiness scattered with flowers through Thessaly they stream. So here we see a sense of flowing beauty, suggesting movement and celebration, as if the flowers and river reflect a stream of joy that they appear through lilies plenteous store. So lilies symbolize purity and marriage. The abundance of flowers in the imagery suggests a rich, joyous environment fitting for a wedding, like a bride's chamber floor. So the bride's chamber floor ties the floral decorations metaphorically to marital purity and joy, reinforcing theme of love. Two of those nymphs, meanwhile, two garlands bound. So this introduces action with the nymphs making garlands, signifying preparation for the wedding. The duality emphasizes the twins being wed of freshest flowers, which in that mead they found. So the freshest flowers denote new beginnings and vitality, symbolizing the bride's youth and beauty. The witch presenting all in trim array. So trim array suggests careful preparation and celebration of beauty, echoing the intricacy of wedding rituals. Their snowy foreheads, therewithal they crown. So, crowning signifies honor and sanctity, evoking a sense of ceremonial respect for the bride's status and purity. Whilst once did sing this lay. So, here we see song. The introduction of song softens the joyous atmosphere, suggesting the celebratory traditions associated with weddings. Prepared against that day. The phrase indicates anticipation for the marriage day, emphasizing the importance of preparation and forethought in celebrations against their bridal day, which was not long. So, here we see this line underscores the imminent nature of the weddings, building suspense and highlighting the joy of upcoming events. Sweet themes run softly till I end my song. So, the closing line is a personal plea to the themes, invoking its essence as a witness to the festivities. It suggests the blending of natural beauty and human celebration, uniting the joy of the occasion with a flowing river. Then with this video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your exams. Thank you.